It's the Fuller House podcast with Erica and Kyle. She's the one who got away. You guys have been asking for this for so long. We're finally able to deliver it, and she's in person with us, which is even cooler. It is Mrs. Almost Danny Tanner, Vicki Larson, aka Gail Edwards. I'm so excited you're here. My voice always goes up 20 octaves when I get really excited. So
so does mine.
You know it's legit. I'm so happy you're here. We got to meet up in LA and get this done. We had done the interview before on the phone and the sound wasn't great, but you've had so many people asking about what you've been up to and if we'll ever see you again and just wondering where you are. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from originally? Because I didn't ask that last time and I want to talk about that.
So originally from Coral Gables, Florida, and then I went via New York because I was a theater acting, singing, dancing. That was my thing. And I met managers. They were Lamont Zetter, and they represented all the Grease people in New York, like Barry Bostwick and John Travolta and Mickey Rourke. And eventually they said, go west while your face is still young. So via New York, I ended up in Los Angeles.
And we're glad you did.
Thank you, sir.
And we saw you, I watched you on YouTube the other day and saw you singing on Happy Days.
Yes.
Talking about your singing, that's what my mind came to. That was such a cute little, if anyone looks up Gail Edwards on YouTube, you have to watch this. It's so cute. The Fonz is watching. I mean, that's pretty cool to have those memories. What do you remember about Happy Days days?
Well, I knew I was going to audition with Gary Marshall, and they wanted me to sing. And of course, I brought my guitar. I'm not sure if that was appropriate.
You went the extra mile.
I know. I brought my guitar and I sang some song that I had probably written or whatever. And then he said, are you going to be comfortable doing that in front of a lot of people? And of course I was like, I'm from the stage. I'm the theater. And I have no problem with this. So yeah, that was one of the early auditions. And what I remember about it was I wasn't real comfortable with harmony. But they had me do like the pre-record, and I didn't like my harmony, and I was like, I didn't do that very well, and I left, and I thought, no, this is my one opportunity, and I went back, and I knocked on the door, and they let me in. I said, I can do it better.
Oh, wow.
And Anson Williams was so sweet. He said, not a lot of people would have the guts to do that, and so I did. I went back, and I sang it much better, and I felt good about it.
Were you a huge Happy Days fan? Was this a big deal that you were auditioning
for
Happy Days?
Yes. I mean, Happy Days was like, yes, everybody's, yeah.
Somebody told me that John Stamos, they were at a taping and John Stamos was talking to the audience and he was saying that he used to go to the Happy Days tapings and say that he was going to be on the stage someday. So wouldn't that have been weird if he watched you?
That would have been very weird. That would have been who knows? You never know.
I know, you don't know.
That would have been cool.
And then you were on It's a Living, which I think, I'm kind of knowledgeable now because I've talked to you before. You said they did like 150 episodes of that or something, and they can't air it now because of the music licensing.
Okay, can you believe it? I've got a movie called Get Crazy, which was music driven, and It's a Living. I think it was 138 or whatever episodes. That because the music rights are so darn expensive, I don't know that they'll ever go into syndication.
It's too bad. I know somebody who had a crush on you when he was a kid from It's a Living. He always writes, "Oh, Gail Edwards, I had such a crush on her on It's a Living."
No, really?
So now I want to see those days too. That's funny. I know you have a cool Steven Spielberg story.
Yes.
It starts with you singing on the beach. I remember that.
Yes. I was friends with Gary David Goldberg that created, everybody knows Family Ties, and then Spin City. And he was one of the first people I met out here through a friend. And I was like giving his daughter piano lessons. And I would sometimes house sit their house. And he was doing Lou Grant at the time. So he had me in for an audition. And it was for a part of a hooker. And of course,
that's how he was thinking of you as you were teaching his daughter piano.
Yes, she looked cute in short shorts. No,
and I know, Roll, it's perfect for you, Gail.
Thanks so much. So, but he had me in, and I think like any time, you're nervous, and I was nervous. But he said, "Let me read with her." And he got up out of the chair at one point and kind of came at me because it was part of the scene, which a lot of times casting people, don't do. They're just reading. Yeah. And he forced like a true reaction out of me. He like startled me, and I was honest about my reaction, which I think helped get me the part. Mm-hmm. And he was very sweet that way. And then he used to I had like a standing invite to his house on Broad Beach for the 4th of July.
That's a nice invite.
I know, isn't that a nice invite? Yeah. His wife was great, Diana. And I was there, and I had my guitar, and I was singing around the fire. And he said, real quick, he kind of like stopped me and said, sing When You Wish Upon a Star. Sing When You Wish Upon a Star. And I was like, okay, because this guy was walking up the beach who I did not recognize. And so I sang a cappella When You Wish Upon a Star. And the gentleman put on his glasses like he was moved, his sunglasses, and kind of moved on. And Gary went, you have no idea who that was, do you? And I said, no. And he was like, that's Steven Spielberg.
Was Steven Spielberg shedding a tear over this?
Yeah,
or-
well,
wow.
he told me later that he's a big, like me, big Disney fan. And he was moved. And
Wow.
so when I met him then later in the day, and he was like, are you Diana's sister? And I said, no, I'm a friend, and I'm an actress. And then he had his show, Amazing Stories, and it was the opening episode, and he gave, which is the biggest thing in Hollywood, to be just given a part.
Yeah.
He asked me to come out and meet with him. They had to take the script out of this vault, the safe, for literally 32 minutes, I think it was. It wasn't like, 35, 40, 40. It was 32 minutes. I had to like read it, and did I like it? And was I interested? Did I like it? And was I interested to work
Well.
with Mr. Spielberg? Oh, let me think about it. No, yeah.
And so what was it like working with him then?
Oh, he was lovely. He was so generous, so nice. It was like 2 weeks at Amblin. He was like, come to the Dailies, private compound. Could not have been more just generous and nice and real. And as a director, made you so comfortable. And
So tell me about Amazing Stories for some people who don't know what that show was.
Mr. Spielberg was doing his television series, a little bit like the Twilight Zones. They were each a standalone episode, and they were stories that he wanted to tell.
Ooh.
And so it was
those were
cool.
good.
Yeah, I thought so. So
Nice. So aside from me being a Full House geek, I was kind of a Blossom geek too. So
Oh, no.
do you have any good Blossom memories? Because you
God.
played Six's mom, and I know there's a scene of you guys going back and forth, talking crazy fast to each other, and that's sort of what Six was known for, and I guess Six got it from her mom, Gail. Or what, I don't know what your name was on the show.
Lemure, Sharon.
Sorry.
Sharon, I was the next door neighbor, that's right. And actually, I was doing Blossom. I must have made a lot of people mad, because at the same time I was doing Vicky, I was doing Sharon Lemore. So I'm doing.
Were you? That was the same time? Oh, okay.
And they accommodated my schedule, because Blossom would shoot like Monday and Tuesdays, and
The same lot, right?
no, I was going back and forth between two different lots, and
Okay.
and since I was recurring, it was probably easier to work. But some weeks I'd do Blossom at the top of the week, Full House at the end of the week. The producer was Don Rio, and he was with Thomas. It's a living group, and this was his show. And he told me he was on the beach in Hawaii trying to think of who would be a good mother for Six, and that I like just dropped into his mind. And boy, did we really look alike at that time.
Yeah, you were perfect.
Yeah, we really looked alike, and that was another one of those like gifts. It was like Anson Williams from Happy Days didn't make me read a movie of the week, A Perfect Little Murder with him, and Don Rio was like, if you're interested in the Blossom, I was like, yes. Bill Bixby was the director, and he played Bruce Banner on the Hulk series. And so he was like a famous actor, so it was cool that he was directing Six. Jenna Vanoy was absolutely amazing.
I was just going to say that. Really talented actress.
Very talented actress, and she could speak quickly, just right. I mean, she was like amazing. I would be
Yeah.
like, I need to sleep on these lines, and then inevitably they would cut. Well, you need to cut this line from here to here to here to here, and that's where it's like, oh, getting paid the big money for this at the last minute. But it was great. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So they didn't speed up your voice?
No.
Really?
Oh, no.
Kyle was convinced they sped up your voice. in
No,
those scenes.
and Bill Bixby would go, "Can you do it faster? Take out all the breaths." He said, "Just run all the lines
I
together."
was exhausted watching that. I was like, how could that happen? That was crazy. I mean, it was really funny though.
Yeah.
I liked that. I love Blossom.
And the fast talking was a lot of fun. It was not in my wheelhouse like it was in Jenna Vanoy's. I mean, she's so talented. And when we did it, the audience really went wild. So we got faster and faster. And when we did it in front of the audience, they laughed so long and hard that it stopped like the flow of the scene. They had to
Cut.
cut and revamp it to get the end of the scene in there.
Yeah,
So,
I could hear the roaring laughing on that. So there was no speeding up either.
No
voices.
speeding up
I can't
either one
believe
of
it.
us.
I don't know how you guys didn't run out of oxygen or faint or.
Oh, well, that's called
it was-
rehearsal. You.
Oh my goodness, yeah, but it was fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So you retired from acting after Full House,
Yes.
correct? And so what was the reason for that? And
I think it was a Northridge earthquake, and my husband sort of said, want to try something different. We already had a home in Sedona, Arizona that we were going to and we were enjoying, and it just kind of fell the way it fell, and we thought, let's try something new, like normal life.
yes, and you had broken off your engagement as Vicky
Yes.
for your career.
Yes, that came to an end. I actually got asked to do a Touch by an Angel when I was there, so I flew to Utah and did that. The more I was in Sedona, it was easier to kind of just stay there. And my husband had some like multimedia stuff going on, computer-based training, and he would like punch the Hollywood into these kind of very staid learning things on the computer, and I would do the voiceovers like, you've clicked the help button, so we were having fun kind of keeping our.
And we've got a voiceover of you. It says, you're listening to the Fuller House podcast.
Oh, good.
Oh,
good.
We play from time to time.
I've heard it.
Yes.
I've heard it. You're a very good interviewer, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
You're fun to interview. I can't believe I'm staring at Vicky Larson and talking to you. I mean, it was one thing to be on the phone with you, but this is a whole
good.
nother level. So it's so
This is
fun.
better.
Yes, way better. What do you remember about your time on Full House?
Oh,
Besides-
gosh. What'd you say?
I said besides everything.
Besides
it was some time
everything.
ago now. That was 23?
23 years ago. Yes, a lot of water under the bridge. Gosh, it was great. It was a 4-day work week. Everybody was very kind and generous and normal, and well, except for Bob and Dave. That
They weren't normal in a good
Oh
way.
yeah, well, no, not in a good way. They're comics. So once you get them off script, they both start making their own comedy, and they can be very funny to the point where I think one time Joel Zwick was a director from It's a Living that was directing the Full Houses, which, by the way, when I went for the audition for Full House, I ran into him in the elevator, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, Joel, how are you doing? And I kind of pointed the script a little like, I'm doing, this stuff. And he went, oh, I'm directing that stuff. And I said, oh, really? And then he said he walked down the hallway and they were auditioning other women, and he stuck his head in the door and said, you are going to hire Gail Edwards, aren't you? So I always...
So it is who you know in this business.
It certainly
the director.
helps.
I mean, that doesn't hurt.
They would tape the shows to make sure that they got them on Tuesday through Friday. So on Thursday, we'd all get in costumes, and they would make sure especially that they had the lines with Michelle. That was challenging because she was so young that she would have like her trainers, I'll say, like around her to kind of say, okay, put the spoon down. Now look over here. Yeah, no, put the spoon down. Now look over here and say that. No, look here and say the line. And of course, and they'd get it a couple of times, because they were so young.
Yeah, they were super young. I mean, they didn't even talk when the show started.
Right. They didn't even talk. And sometimes in the middle of the scene, if she was getting tired, they'd bring her twin in.
They swapped her out.
They would swap her out. It was so strange. And then they'd start in again because, they'd grab something from the table and it'd be like, put the spoon down. And sometimes they'd change the line on her. And she was so little, instead of like, well, that's how you slice the old zucchini. They'd say, we've changed it to tomato. And what's a tomato? And we'd have a discussion about that. And yeah, it was cute. Cute.
It's so funny to watch them in different episodes because I always know I'm born the same year as them, so I can always say, I was that age, or I was this age when I was watching it, or
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's fun for me.
And for all of you out there that don't know that Erica is a beautiful girl, she's a lovely thing.
Well, I don't know about all that.
And her husband's not bad either.
Well, look at you guys. I mean, we could talk about this all day. Okay, so what was it like working with Bob Saget? You told me a little bit, but give me a story or something.
Okay, I know. It's just kind of fun because I feel like, haven't we already had this conversation? But Bob was great. The first time that we had to get dressed on that Thursday and stand there, it's kind of like extras getting the kids' lines. He turned to me and he said, well, welcome to a long day. Because it was, and I thought, what do you mean? And it was like, then I got it, because then began the whole, put the spoon down and look over here. Now say your line, say, yes, hi, it's good to sit, stand over here. And he looked at me like, you see what I mean? I was like, oh, I get you. Okay. But he was a lot of fun.
He's a dirty comic, but he's kind of a sweet.
He's a dirty
guy to
comic.
work
He's
with.
kind of sweet, and he's got a lot going on.
Okay, so should Vicky have chosen her career over Danny, in your opinion?
Oh, let's see.
I mean,
Of course not, because I
Yeah.
would like to have still been on the show.
But I don't know. He did propose with fireworks at Disney World. So.
I know. No,
I
I
don't know
I
if he
think
would've
she
turned it
should have
down.
chosen him myself, but
So why didn't you end up staying on the show then? It just
I think they had a change of direction.
Okay.
Which is what they used to say at an audition when I called to say, did I get the role? And they go, they're going in a different direction.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
whatever
And,
that means.
You know, here he was like the bachelor du jour. And a lot of times when the bachelor gets married, the show ends. But the show ended anyway. Well, I don't know why they changed their mind, but they did and wrote me out.
I wish you would have stayed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had, and you would not. There are some shows that if you add a baby, a baby that doesn't even talk, you add these certain elements that kind of throws off the show. But you wouldn't have done that. I loved your character because you were kind of always putting Danny in his place. Like when
Yeah.
he's trying to date all those women on TV, or he's talking about it on Wake Up San Francisco, and you're kind of just like rolling your eyes at him. And
Yeah, not interested. And yeah, he always said we had a thing kind of like moonlighting with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd that was kind of, there was an underlying attraction, but they also could kind of like barb each other. So
that's what Bob said.
yeah, Bob would
Yeah.
kind of throw that out as a direction. You know, actors are not supposed to direct actors, but I never minded. So he was kind of like, how about let's play it this way? I said, I like that. So I kind of felt that way anyway. So it was like, who wants you? I don't want you. And then it was better that we then kind of fell into the attraction.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very cute. You were kind of witty and then also very sweet. And I always remember the episode where you changed the girls' room completely, or your mom comes in and just redesigns.
Yes.
And it was such a big deal for Full House fans, I think, because the girls' room just changes, and we saw so many scenes in there, but it was a really cool change. So
Yeah, it
but
was-
we got to blame you and your mom for that. And Danny's like all mad at you because you
Yes,
you
that
made
I-
that change without his permission. It's like, how could he have not seen all
Right.
this major construction going on? But
Well, yeah.
I don't know why that one stands out in my mind when I think of you. Other than Disney World, of course.
Oh, Disney World was so cool. You know, the bird like Snow White flying on my finger. I mean, and me being a Disney fan anyway, I mean, Disney World was so cool.
I know most of the cast has said that was their favorite episode to film a Full House.
Yeah, that was really neat.
And wasn't there something funny that I might remember from the last time we talked about Robert being placed in a very specific...
Oh God! Well, there's Joel
Spot.
Zwick again. He directed that, and he said, "I think it'd be fun to have your husband standing right behind." So he's the tall blonde in the background. If you look him up, looking up at the fireworks, he said, "Let's put your husband right there behind." Poor Bob. When he asked you to marry him and you kiss and say yes, and just put your husband right in his eye shot.
He's right there watching.
Right there. They always would do stuff like that.
I think you said Bob was looking at him like, "Why are you standing right
Yes,
here?" And
yes.
it was Joel Zwick who told him to as a
Yes.
joke.
Oh God, I know.
That's pretty awkward.
It was fun.
So the fans really love Vicky. I know that. They've told me. A lot of them. So why do you think that is?
Oh gosh.
Other than you played her.
I will say that you said to me we had great chemistry.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, you never know a lot of times if it's working. You just do the best you can do from your heart. And that show has a lot of heart. So obviously that's what they like. And ever since you said to me, you guys have great chemistry. Oh, if you sent, look at this
I think it-
collage.
yeah, it was a picture I posted of you in all the comments below.
And all the comments, and then there was somebody went out of their way to put a collage of all these like sweet moments of Bob and I together, and I went
on YouTube, right?
on YouTube,
Yeah.
and there we go with YouTube, and I said, yeah, you were right, we had good chemistry.
So if you gave Danny and Vicky a proper ending on Full House, what would it have been? Because the show kind of ended in a weird place anyway. I don't know if you ever saw the last episode, but
I did
Michelle gets
not.
amnesia, and it's not really a last episode basically. But if you had to wrap up their relationship, would it have wrapped up even? I don't know.
No, my fantasy would have been we got married, and there would be another child coming.
Another
and,
Michelle.
yes, there'd be another child, and the show would continue on.
Oh, that would have been so cute.
It would have been good.
I think Jeff Franklin had left the last 2 seasons, and I'm not sure what the timing was when you left. So
That was
things
around
changed
that
a lot.
same
It was,
time.
okay.
So,
So, Team Steve or Team Matt? See if she's been doing her Fuller House homework.
I know. I have to tell you, I have not been doing my I do know what that is. I do know what it is, but it's
knows
not
what it
because
is.
I have been watching the.
You just don't know who it is.
I don't.
You know Steve.
Yeah, I know Steve, and I love that's Scott, and I love Scott. He's a sweetheart. So I'm going to have to catch up with the new shows. I did watch the new pilot of the new Fuller House.
Oh, okay.
I did watch it, and of course, my favorite moment is when they broke the fourth wall. Is that what it's called? And, where they stared at Michelle like, "Where the hell are you?" And then it just the audience went nuts, and they held it for that was like my favorite moment. I think a lot of people's favorite moment.
Yes.
And I thought the way they introduced everybody on that pilot episode was amazing. The way they brought the story around and who was going where and why they're now all in that house again. But that's at some point I will catch up. But I had one other Full House story I wanted to tell you.
Please.
That was one day I'm walking into the set, and I looked behind me and I saw somebody I thought I recognized at a Jaguar, and then I did a double take and I looked back and it was Anthony Hopkins. And of course I had all this stuff. I was carrying like bags full of stuff because I was doing things in my dressing room, like waiting for my one scene or whatever. And I came around the corner where I entered Full House, and I was like, the security card was there, and so I stopped and I went, "Oh my God, I just saw Anthony Hopkins. I just saw Anthony." And with that, Anthony Hopkins come around the corner and came right at me, and with that, I let all the stuff drop off my shoulders, and he took a hold of my shoulders and put his face right in my face and was like, "What are you doing here, darling?" And I was like, I'm I could barely speak. I'm on the kids. I couldn't even remember the name of it. I'm on the kids show, and I'm pointing at the door, the stage, and
kids.
And he said, "Oh, that's a lovely show, or that's a cute show." And I said, "You should stop off later. They'd be thrilled to see you." And with that, I put my hands on him because I wanted. And he was built. And I was like, "Lovely to meet you." I was like, I said, yes, lovely to meet you too. So that was like one of those. I felt like I was like a 12-year-old walking in. I was like, I just met Anthony Hopkins. So it was really cool.
That's so funny. Did he come up to you because he saw you freaking out? Is that
I
why? Or
don't know.
Sounds a little Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, but
what are you doing here?
Yeah, it was like, "What are you doing here, Joey? What are you doing here?" He must have been doing Dracula on the soundstage next door. But it was really cool.
That is cool.
It was cool.
Tell me some things about working with the cast of Full House in specific, some of the people we haven't talked about yet.
Well, let's see. John Stamos is as gorgeous as as he appears. He's just absolutely, and also very, very sweet. And of course, Scott was on The Family Man, which I also did. And then the kids were all pretty young.
Yeah.
So, they were doing school, and I didn't want to, bother them with other things. So, and John Stamos was very welcoming. As a matter of fact, the first day I think I showed up, he came up to me and went, "What are you doing here?" And I went, "Top 10 show, I'm not going to do this. Are you crazy?" But everybody was great. It was just great.
When we went to a Fuller House taping a couple months, actually it was like 6 months ago, Scott was I don't think he was supposed to, but he let us sit on the blue couch and he took a couple pictures of us. So he was very sweet. He was very nice about that. So
he's a very nice guy.
getting on the blue couch was sort of a dream of mine. So I made it. I made it finally, one way or another.
All right, on the blue couch.
I see him in reruns now, so I'll see you at different times and probably.
And every time we see a rerun, we're like, we hope Gail got a check for that.
Gail's residuals.
I
Do you
know.
get residuals for Full
I
House?
do.
Yeah.
I do get
That's so
residuals, and
cool.
it's my best residual at the
Oh,
moment
really?
because there were
It
so
never
many
stopped
shows,
showing.
and it never stopped showing. I mean, like MASH and Taxi and Happy Days are like, okay, there's a lunch. And probably not in Los Angeles, but in Sedona, more of a lunch.
Hey,
yeah.
free lunch isn't bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the question everybody is waiting for. Have you been asked to come back on Fuller House?
I have not.
Would you be interested in coming back on Fuller House?
I would love to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing so well. It's so
Thank
nice
you.
to see.
That's so nice to meet you.
Yes, and well, enjoy the rest of your time in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's not too much of it.
Okay.
And we will keep in touch, of course.
Absolutely.
We have to keep the
we are
fans happy
friends.
and
We
the-
are friends now, and so we will be in touch.